Hello, please, Governor Malloy. There are many people who confessed, recorded, and demonstrated. There are a whole bunch of mayors retired and standing like a former Mayor Gold. I never had a conversation with him. He's involved with people, with a whole bunch of people with sequence racketeering. Also on with Facebook involved with it, with a whole bunch of natures of abuses of each age of fact shaming nature. They had you with a community town meeting where that was used to force a principal sex offender, with others that were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with worse than that, with other people. Then and now, further involved with this other natures of crimes. These are women roles with this interbranch. They attach me to fake locations, fake words, fake behavior. And these are people that have been doing that on and off courts behind my backs in relationship to distances to databases, fake conversations with me before there were positions with the courts. A whole bunch of women involved through time, men involved through time with crime methods, whole crime methods recorded with a whole bunch of natures of courts. Their family members, a whole bunch of natures of police forms, former the director of the FBI down, his lawyer, the office of his lawyer on Farmington Avenue. I don't know if it's still there. Robert Chevrolet, former director of the FBI, former standing chairperson on RICO law, Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of people with overt criminal enterprises, confessed and recorded and demonstrated in my area, involved racketeering with kids and with a foreign and domestic families, also medical, and with Joshua Julian and with the Joshua Stryker and people on and off the state judicial branch offices. And these are women private also, doctors, nurses, involved with racketeering with child offenders, elderly offenders simultaneously, the same cliques that are the stewards of them. This is keeping everyone private, interbranch, intercampuses of each age and nature, including fire campuses, EMS, and medical campuses like Harvard Hospital, locations, businesses, and houses and stuff, locations and distances in relationship to Harvard Hospital, in relationship to other hospitals, intercities. Their systems are involved with identity racketeering, thefts, forging names, switching names, racket. They have statutes that say they could be undercover with and be involved with actual racketeering, but they are and have been using that to hide their roles with states, with what kept and keeps states and areas criminally foreign influenced and self-valuing roles with it, pretending other. That's why they need to do this. They need to keep self-valued originally and still this method of from off the ground of campus education's value on off campuses and layers for sustained I, tricks through kids, real sick natures, with those other natures of campuses already having had manifest criminal uses of each age and nature of campus because they're life progressions. They were are only capable of life, and they have facilitated. We're just testing this person. Those are the people involved with forcing people to, like, say, you're in, you're not going to see people that often that you don't know. Even extended family members, immediate family members, they're attaching everyone to fake locations, fake words. They're attaching kids to fake locations and relationships to child offenders interstates years ahead of time. With the courts attaching little kids to fake locations further with the roles with a principal sex offenders campus. So please, Governor Malloy, interbranch. They use the weapon of the court because they know you're going to be there. They know they could attach you to more fake recorded things, and they know that the police do and did that with them. They individually group and together use a whole bunch of names, name stacking too. Then their motive is they're recorded criminally pretending that they don't realize that they're saying, oh, well, we should have a right to defend ourselves when they are recorded criminally preventing people from free speech by stealing our speech, by sequence shifting, by pretending things hate speech when they know they're starting fights, and worse, because they're forcing abuse, they're forcing, like, in other words, they're involved even with all uses each of the identities of ground, private, overt criminal enterprises. Our military recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally foreign influence originally, still incapable of the distinctions of logic as anything other than criminal insidious nature, which is temporary positive as negative value nature. That's not that's not capable of telling the truth and where it counts. We already have that involved with all kinds of natures of racketeering, tons and tons of names and people involved with forging names, switching names, formal medication racketeering roles, overt criminal enterprises, drugs, roles juxtaposed, and all that mixed. Everyone in this that kept and keeps each age of fact cheating nature, where the formal is everyone blames the sick, everyone blames it on the wrong things though. The informal is forsaken, with that being blamed on the wrong thing. So no one ever cared about what really is exploiting each age of fact cheating nature in the shadows, where they know we're not looking. They know what we need to say to our each other, each age of fact cheating nature simultaneously. This is where and how we are valued by science, the one by the identity of evolution, the one that is the identity attached to all questions as its answer slash s, as the identity of relationship that all identities of value progression individually grouped and together have, as actual science reveals. And it's all right if people want to debate such like that, or don't care or not. They have the right to do that, but they don't have to. They don't have the right to do that offensively with physical delusions and self-value and criminally foreign influence sciences. Each of them to effectively having kept and keeping this worse than obfuscated. Really, what the algorithm is about, which is yin yang inside of all, and which is alpha. When alpha is an isolated value, this way we could see Adam and Eve and Romulus and Remus with that. For example, we'll examine this. That's 5 semi-natures. This is also what is before while being and from beyond while being are, are the value of Earth. That trinity of relationship to itself. As the range of positive that we are, with and as the value that came from before us, that is a semi-nature still inseparable from the identity of value progression we are. Each as an individual, complete identity as an individual, simultaneously as a semi-nature, in demonstration of that one identity. That is the identity of relationship to all things again. Individual nature of volume. Now, see, this is the secret of language. I'm reducing the next video just to focus on this. Each letter is an individual nature of volume as a complete identity. It can't help but be a simultaneously and unceasing semi-nature relationship to the identity of value progression that only fills its volume. So it's not just that yin yang cannot be separated. This volume only fills. So if you separate alpha, the individual nature of volume, for example, where sexes are an exception to that, where ages are an exception to that, where locations are an exception to that. This is Also, in demonstration of this Trinity, that makes that in other words, is showing that's not an exception. That's just with everything in demonstration of the identity of value. In other words, again, each individual identity of value is simultaneously a semi-nature relationship, not just with the grouped and the species nature of volume, but they're only filling, positive or negative. As our identity is only filling with more and more positive or negative. And this is perfect memory. This which generated matter and from before while being and from beyond another way too while being. That's why we have to know the difference between logic, especially legalized, criminally legalized logic as criminal and city system nature, self-value. So we have psychology involved with the obfuscation, worse than the obfuscation of this identity that is the again the answer slash s to all questions. And this here where our species long, boxing is strong. So that is five semi-natures, and it is simultaneously three semi-natures. And this is by one identity of value progression that is self-generating. I'm talking to Mr. Malloy. I'm talking about this because, for example, I'm talking about the predicate acts involved here with wire crimes, WFSBs recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with like an organized crime method, with them with overt criminal enterprises, criminal uses of the witness protection program stewards, and those same overt criminal enterprises with an officer Jerry Miller, with a whole bunch of officers and police forms associated with a Kerr family and people I don't know the name of along that route, and the Morrow family, and people, all a whole bunch of everyone speaking through other. I don't know these people, and in other words, they want me to use the people's names because they attach tied to them attaching little kids in each age of fact sheet nature to fake words with the news. So you say, oh, it's so simple, just call up and tell. They already used the Weathersfield Police Department for years involved with what I'm trying to tell them, and they tried to hide it, and they made and keep stacking worse and worse. And they don't even know why I was trying to establish those counters to those points, because since before the Trade Center attack in a straight line, there were confessions, demonstrations, and such of, of people, of strangers even, about their roles with people from my town or with locations of it, not even using the name, but they are that and that were involved with such with racketeering. Then with people after that in the Trade Center attack context, proven tied to a post-dated documents that had been hand delivered and proven on time stamped and delivered to the Ninth Circuit right before the Trade Center attack. After that, they that led to part of a 2006 case slash S with the same people involved. See, I didn't understand it was the same people yet, or I would have been able to say something. But those same people were involved with a whole bunch of racketeering on off CCSU, on off Trinity College, interstates, even Washington D.C. Leading up to there's a Chris Walters and a whole bunch of people with Trinity College and with CCSU recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved influence to racketeering acts by their roles with state police families and foreign families that keep this the outcome with them, like through things like DACA. But this is since before our founders were born. This was sophisticated method here. These are identity of the ground relationships to our quality of fact sheet nature. They're only capable of having of not only capable. That in other words, until we have our education not just corrected, we have evidence perception and logic's actual course demonstrated. See, they've been using the right to force people for mental evaluation as their means to prevent people from using from countering the roles with aggression, pretending that they're not involved with what they're actually recorded involved with: child abuses, elderly abuses, whole bunch of racketeering acts roles with cases already. Racketeering acts roles with their patients and criminals and prison cliques before they were in prison together. Already involved with database racketeering and live progressions from that, vertical and horizontal methods exploiting boys and girls sickly distinctly to keep how sickly not distinctly from being discerned. Not one has learned. So, we have to change. We have to admit the forsaken, and this and while revealing, all that tied to the private you can't defend and the Constitution on a bridge at the same time. So they're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally foreign influence to pretend. For example, use the crime method. Pretend they mean they think Marbury versus Madison means pretend credibility. That's the Constitution abridged. That's in other words, and just be in other words, they're not for free speech. They're not for free speech, so they need to delay the crimes. But that's not the only. That's just their roles with each database tied click, each identity, the ground location group with sensibilities. Everyone having been speaking through others. This is also using the method of confessing, demonstrating, and recording to each age of fact shaping nature, how the overt criminal enterprises, how the private ones, and how interbranch and intercampuses are in collusion also on and off that. And what kept that keeps that self-valued by the branches because they never were sophistication but inside this. Every modern nation needs to use the phrase criminal foreign influences, but they're incapable and we're all simultaneously sickly distinctly and non-distinctly forced not to speak about how we're forced individually grouped in together not to give away their police roles, training, things like that. In other words, statutes telling them that they can be racketeering natures, but the same statutes have they're getting over on them. But and there were influence to it through criminal foreign influence. Each modern nation, just with the suit and tie, just with the zoning laws, the suit and tie is debatable. Just with the zoning laws. But I said the suit and tie is not debatable about the style of it, in other words. But just with the zoning laws involved recorded, it's not debatable, involved with the fact cheating nature, torture, and slavery of our founders. Slavery. And so they don't let that slavery talked about. They force it through comparison, which would be all right if it was honest, because then it would stay on the logistics, actual problems, not as science. It's all right. People have pains, don't get in the way of reality, and so we have reality experts, experts on logic, again involved with racketeering method with human fact cheating nature. Roles where they knew the branches would only be able to be live progression, cover up nature's needs and styles, self-valuing means needs and natures needed to hide it sickly because they've been exploiting it not just formerly with the database relationships, but with the live progressions from that, where they're pretending to perceive things and they're acting things And with the motivations for it, they don't even understand, but through other natures of real but juxtaposed ulterior from actually true always motivations. And what this is involved with is a method that is perpetually offensively preventing people free speech. And once you sustain that, then they're pretending that the sociology of people is practical and or is not completely sick theater in a whole bunch of ways. And then they share ways of getting them all this the resources, the money. It's because we have fact keeping nature not allowed to show how money is it has was and is a value used to keep human fact keeping nature from using value's actual course, logic's actual course, not as criminal insidious nature. We have ourselves being tortured by people, recorded nations individually grouped and together with psychology, with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering, even beyond themselves with psychology, even into actual healthcare and medicine, all reception of everything. Intermilitary, involved with their physical delusions, their criminal foreign influences. So again, vaccines. We need the campus name return. Campus Marcius calls you home. Please learn. And you have to understand the judicial branches, individual grouped and together, crime methods and motivations actually recorded, originally instilled. And this again is without private tie to them, including prisons. And this is in layers set kept from criminal foreign influences, but not sourced by one nation, but fluent through each. And it is to the maintenance of that overtly and simultaneously insidiously, because it is the maintenance of misprision and criminality. Styles of liars people like to show each other they don't. They're telling their need to hide the same finite, active, progressive, sequence lies. Their need to hide their roles preventing religious freedom while they're preventing logic as anything but a sick nature with them. You know how long psychology, the Institute of Living, Hartford, Connecticut, is involved with slavery since before our nation's founders were born. George Washington had to leave overt slavery with color in Hartford, Connecticut, Wethersfield, Connecticut, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, even with the French general's help. He could only send me a counter extort them. Meeting with him here in Wethersfield, Connecticut. That was involved. The North was involved then, and now with slavery, methods of it, natures of it, on with that area. Houses next to it, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering with CCSU, for example, other campuses involved with child offenders on and off campuses, intermilitary, inter Department of Transportation, identity, all victims. I'm not saying that bad people. This is not where good people are maintained. Frustrated evil with and roles inclusion. What really is the answer slash S to the questions about what motivated people to roles with slavery. They have what motivated our nation to leave our founders with them having described them other than they wanted themselves demonstrated. They didn't have free speech. They were slaves. They had to hide their roles with what and pretend they didn't realize who forced everyone to break all the crazy laws that forced everyone to slave roles, all juxtaposed to motive nature's needs and interests, no, all juxtaposed, ulterior from, all sick, but only sick because the organized crime breaching racketeering method that forced those laws. Force everyone afraid to speak, but everyone's got to speak anyway. Everyone's got to speak about positive anyway. Everyone's got to care about the sensibilities of other anyway, while they're not allowed to. And so, in other words, our founders left us to demonstrate that we have sub rosa racketeering that is also sequence shift racketeering, active racketeering, progressive. Progressive is value racketeering. Everyone pretending stupid. They didn't know all this time that people stacking stuff like that. We have a pathology of infrastructure involved with the torture and slavery of our founders. Now, I forgot what I was speaking to you, Mister Malloy. There are further people recorded and confessed, including prosecutors and their family members, judges. Their family members are retired and standing, which is no pleasure to have to. It's scary, and it shouldn't be. Shouldn't have to, But they forge names, switch names. They use the that and how they can force you to their position, so they can fake more and more things into databases. They spread lies and rumors before they were in there for people tied to them. Everyone's speaking to others too, and they're pretending those people have credibility. They don't. Now they've been using the identity of the ground. They've been using a whole bunch of people associated with uses of the parks, intercities, uses of locations on off campuses with connections between them, manifest that are tied to preemptive, in other words, vertical and horizontal racketeering, specifically to maintain those locations, like along routes and streets, like along the ones that go like Walker Hill. They're we have we have a whole bunch of CIA and FBI and military police involved racketeering with overt criminal enterprises, actual with evidences, with interbranch, individually grouped and together crime methods with other nations like Russians, criminal uses of the identity of the ground, identity of job, suit and tie, where they counter each other and stuff like that. But the whole time their shadows here, they're involved with other natures and methods of racketeering. Originally and still, since before our founders, this was sophistication. What kept and keeps them rolls with also further predicate acts. Trade Center. Now these are a whole bunch of people involved with triages and with forcing mental diagnosis because they know you don't have the you have the right not to communicate with people that you know are already involved with having attached you to fake that are already involved with people confessed and demonstrated involved with the child offenders that I was trying to tell on. See, but I had to do it by forcing someone to call the police without telling them why. And so I was going to catch them, and they know I caught them that way, so they're still hiding it. Former director of the FBI down, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, a whole bunch of people from my town tied to that street, Farmington Avenue in Hartford. This is Wethersfield, and to all the locations in Hartford, and people on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the state prison offices that are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved people with racketeering with databases with my high school and with two speech teachers I had involved with medical families, including doctors of especially doctors of psychology, ones with badges and things like that, involved with a whole bunch of natures of child abuses because of the uses of individuals, groups, and together for racketeering with evidences, with sequence shifts. Then they maintain them go into life, pretend they have integrity, and then things come back. They need to have ask them questions about things. They're locked in. They were locked into racketeering roles, confessed, recorded, and demonstrated, actual with evidences and with databases and with other natures of child abuses, elderly abuses since I was a kid. More and more, I've been trying to to counter this since I was a kid. They followed me in a sustained way, the same recorded people. They're forging names and switching names into branch with their drug clicks too. And then they're pretending to be against it. They're using the qualities of drugs also even down to for they're pretending they're doing legitimate concern about healthcare things and stuff like that. They're not about that. These are sick. What was behind the how Joseph Mengele, with for example, with World War I, World War II type stuff. They have that in so when it's countered, they left insulated. No one ever, everyone left all the racketeering involved with psychology, with nations individually grouped and together, even though Russians and Americans are two different nations that, you know, conflict with each other. At the same time, that's because their justice department, our justice department recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with all these physical delusions, all these crime methods, and criminally foreign influenced evidence reception influences and delusions and criminally foreign influence fact keeping nature convictions offensively used to with statutes being used criminally by our stewards originally and still pretending not to realize that they have physical delusions, also not realizing because they're victims of this crime method recorded, confessed, and demonstrate how it's we have to counter the sequence shifts because they have the sequence shifts involved with the crime methods and motivations from off campuses, from off the value of the grounds of education maintained on off it in layers already. So we have value treatments with manifest precedents and formal, informal, and other identities of sciences, identities of jobs associated with that, identities of sophistication of each age of fact keeping nature, valued her by a system that needs to keep it gripped to keep each age of fact keeping nature from correlation. Nature's simultaneously inherent active and progressive means, and with sequence true. This is a method that makes them value sequence shifts or styles of logic that have sequence shifts self-valued only because they value needs to just forget things that they can't counter because they're just kids, etc. Each position in the age of fact keeping nature simultaneously sickly distinctly hurt to keep how sickly consciously methodically simultaneously hurt each modern nation the before while being and beyond being the value of money to this organized crime method is the styles of fact keeping nature as it is with all identity of roles with it. Now, so we have the debates. Everyone has to force, even the whole nations, forcing no one to say anything about sequence shifts, forcing no one to speak about the Quran or about the Old Testament unless they're going to devalue and ignore and not focus on all that there with the first part of the Old Testament, first part of the Old Quran. We don't have free speech here or there. They are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated ISIS and Al Qaeda, all those things. Those are involved with psychology, with the counters to it that are fake sides, where they're involved, for example, triages, systems where they have these, where they use the crime method of originally still keeping the real causes of negative value nature progressions acts in nature is blamed on other things other than themselves and hurting correlation nature and worse. So they use the method of preventing people from using our voices to counter where the area is being coached to child defender roles because interbranch family members, prosecutors, all the people that work with the courts, all the people that investigate that, all inclusion, all an identity that they're victim predators. This is intercampuses criminally re-engineered with the ancient republic that they are the value extension of, and that vice versa is true conversely. So in other words, Mr. Malloy, I never had a conversation with you. You're involved with a whole bunch of agencies, former director of the FBI down, also racketeering acts, roles, and uses of local elections and of town offices. You should get me a name of the because they're forging names and switching names. There's an Inspector Mike. I don't know if it's a Mike Kerr. There's an inspector. There's a fire inspector retired from New York City, also tied to a Smith family, a Jamie Smith and David Smith, and their mother, and like other motorcycle guys. I don't remember, and people were like associated with like Old Town Cafe and with Charlie Bowes. And a whole bunch of people with this, my new and past neighbors associated with the Dillon family, Kevin Dillon, Sean Dillon, Anna Dillon, interbranch racketeering roles and uses of real estate companies associated with this Anna Dillon and what they're doing with my new past neighbors. I don't know their names. They're preventing people encounters by playing games where they don't let people know names and with the while they're forcing people to speak through other people criminally. Now they have more roles with various natures of uses of untimely deaths of real and made up ones. Because they also put fake news so they can pretend for a fact cheating nature racket tool to pretend to be speaking that people are speaking about their what they report instead of what's actually recorded. And so there's a Justin Klavinsky also sought me out, confessed record with a Eric Jensen. Now and these people I barely know, but they're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court and on and off the state judicial branch offices, on and off Weathersfield police offices, and with overt criminal enterprises, other nations, and with criminal justice schools and with database clicks, and women with the FBI associated with them, also intercities and all that, also with the ones on Walker Hill Road with corners and stuff like that. Recorded, confessed, involved racketeering roles with people on and off Two Rod Highway and associated in the past. I don't know if still with a Victorian house, and there are other houses on the street involved with like a Enza Fienza and his cousin. I forgot his cousin's name. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also like with some a Michelle and a Danielle. They're involved with racketeering with their families on and off the state judicial branch offices and with people with the houses next to it. And those are people also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with these Dillon family, with my new and past neighbors, with real estate companies, also associated with people who racketeering with kids and medical corruption, foreign and domestic, and on and off CCSU involved with Lena's Pizza and Church Street through time, involved with those higher canvases, involved with child defender methods. A whole bunch of people recorded and confessed involved I never had one conversation with them verbal what's his name Lance Cuddy, but he was confessed. It was his confessed and recorded demonstrated he has a bunch of brothers. I don't know how many brothers, two or three or four brothers, and his neighbors on and off the state judicial branch are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Also, the people involved with database racketeering and with two speech teachers I have also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, and involved with the family members of and these people with my new and past neighbor with this Dillon family, and with their racketeering with the real estate, and with the interbranch with the sequence, while they're forcing the sustain so they could pretend other, while they're setting people up and putting fake recorded things into databases through time, attaching little kids to fake locations, forcing forcing aggression. For they force it. For example, I never talked about kissing girls or anything, even with my father. There was a Jerry Kerr. He has a son, Jerry Kerr. Now man, and his brother, Michael Kerr. He didn't go to my school. They tried to fulfill mother, and I never had a conversation with him on my campus, any campus. I never even saw him on the campus when I was in grammar school, because he's involved. They were involved with sequence shifts, and Debbie Gold, and her father was the former mayor. Now there's further former mayors and standing mayors involved with them, also with a bunch of forensics clicks, a whole bunch of, like, where they do autopsies and things, all that recorded racketeering roles with clicks and people of overt criminal enterprises, people, doctors, people associated with former director of the FBI and his federal criminal code defendants in a 2006 case. Also, a whole bunch of people associated leading up to and in the Trade Center attack case with WFSB, also with, racketeering roles with that. See, because their roles are just through everyone speaking through other they're knaves with evidences. They're knaves with what was right behind Joseph Mengele, which was there here already entrenched. Criminally foreign influence states and areas self-valued per a method against each modern nation, not just Germany and America, not just all the fake sides that kept inside the religions. We have each of these religious spots involved with the same racketeering, and then they're pretending they can't be doing that because they're intercultural. In other words, that's criminal and seditious nature positive. It's not, that doesn't mean anything. Then you note that they pretend you're prejudiced. In other words, we have physical delusions, criminally foreign influence, fact treatment nature, identity racketeering nature, for way worse with these sequence shifts. In other words, Governor Malloy, I never had a conversation with you. You should get real fast. You should have the Weathersfield police chief removed from the kids, and you should have WFSB say they're sorry for the recorded, confessed, and demonstrated still being sustained roles covering up live aggressions, because they have interbranch family members, even prosecutors, that attach me to fake words, fake locations. As a kid too, fake relationships to doctors, fake mental diagnosis, and through WFSB, and it involved also, again, all kinds of FBI other too, and CIA and their family members, and foreign and domestic overt criminal enterprises. Witness protection program also involved with the houses with them. Further recorded and confessed with Officer Jerry Miller and the retired and standing judges and prison clerks. There's also again, Phil Clow and other Scaloras involved with this interstates, and further with the principal sex offenders on off his campus, with a whole bunch of people with Hartford Hospital, and on the campus of Hartford Hospital, this Institute of Living place. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they used the right to um, force mental evaluation of someone, to forge names, switch names, fake conversations with people. They're recorded crime acts rolls with their prisoners and patients before they were in there, and with criminal uses of the campuses. There have been crime acts rolls, uses of the Facebook pages of New Britain Superior Court with more child offenders when they were still forcing the principal sex offender. With they were forcing worse rape threats, and sexual and medical and other lies, and judicial, all the lies through the kids, uses of their own. That's not by accident. There's a Chet Casper. I don't know his sister's name. His parents, and obviously, I believe they have the wife of a Czech Casper also involved with Facebook racketeering, and with downtown Hartford, people with on and off Fox Connecticut News also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the racketeering intercities with WFSB and on and off the campuses when their roles with the life aggressions tied to that uses of each age of fact treatment nature already in this trap. Their uses of the Millwoods Park, their uses of what is Cub Scouts, their uses of what is Girl Scouts, their uses of what is everything associated with identities of law recorded originally and still how maintain criminally foreign influence, how to maintain motivated as victim predators, only allowed to be realized that. So you have to WFSB attached me and my family to fake locations, fake sequences with their sources recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also racketeering as one's interstates in the trade center context, leading up to it with them. With and then in the 2006 district court case, and then in these cases that were used to force intercities sexual and other natures of abuses of kids, right through the only allowed counters to it too, through how the everyone's interacting through this is how our nature of volume is being exploited. Each identity, there's a whole bunch of departments of CCSU recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the games, criminal, sick games being played by the various natures of courts and former director of the FBI, other agencies that use CCSU through time for other methods and natures of crimes against each age of fact treatment nature, as the ones further involved with even the sexual abuses of the youngest kids, boys and girls, with these with all kind of medical themed, sexual themed, time themed, fake um fake legitimate science role themed and uses of that. That's manifest. I tell it best. Vaccines. We have the educational department, departments of modern campuses. They have forced glorified our founders' fact treatment nature, torture, and slavery, not by accident. Worse than to divide and conquer. So we need legal representation, but we still have all we need. Before we have that, we need mandated law. We need free speech. We need to have the courts with recorded offensive method pretending criminally pretending that they should be sued when they know that they already forged names, switched names. All we need is recorded. They're hiding what's actually recorded, and they pretend they have the right to do that because they're hiding their criminal uses of cases already. Other racketeering methods, motivations, natures of crime. The recorded stacking names of strangers against me since I was a kid. People I don't know at all. People that I only know from contacts they acted in because they were facilitated to individually grouped and together pretend fake sides of correlation nature. That's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated actually. The recorded, confessed, and demonstrated actually now. That's why they need that's part of their motivations. Recorded also juxtaposed with women judges involved with child offenders further with you guys retired and standing. Former Governor Malloy. Now, can you fix the fake news? And with the town meeting you had, that is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. See, you're stacking all the monies and resources you're going to owe so many parents for these games you're playing through them. Also, with military, foreign, and domestic involved racketeering. No, all the topics in CNN have ties to this, to the various natures of people at on and off the Connecticut campuses involved with the Trade Center racketeering and with the racketeering acts on and off CCSU. Also confessed, demonstrated, and recorded whole bunch of natures of racketeering uses of judges at New Britain Superior Court, Hartford courts, leading up to and in the Trade Center attack, leading up to and in the thing. This is really what is news. And it shouldn't be hard but they forcing it with more stacked crimes. They use the crime method pretending, oh, well, we don't know. We're just trying to make opinions. They know this is recorded. WFSB knows they attached me to fake conversations with them. They lied about my history as a kid. They attached me to fake relationships to doctors. They have racketeering acts rolls with on with uses of from off the campus of Trinity College. They don't even realize it. Whatever they realize, they can't put on paper if they're pretending to realize anything. Because that's in other words, these are all people again, former director of the FBI down, other agencies, foreign and domestic people, state police, their family members, a whole bunch of people associated with Eric Olson, Matt Olson, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with uses of Facebook and IT departments involved with Puerto Rico, Mexico, racketeering roles with these prison cliques with the state police, with the training of the people that run the prisons involved racketeering roles on and off campuses. Again, each age of fact should be nature, using them to hide their life progressions that are maintained through criminal foreign influence, specifically for those life progressions, specifically to keep all standing breaching tools, fake patriotism natures. Not one modern see suits and ties. Not one modern nation is free. Fake everything. Boxing. So this is worse than extortion. These are serious, serious, serious things. This is tied to a recorded breaching method effectively. It's simple too. It's not hard to just see it actually discerned. I mean, actually consciously how it's being used, and through juxtaposed other motivations, natures, each interests that everyone's pretending they can only fathom, not by accident. Boxing. So Governor Malloy, it's no fun to have people attaching you to fake words everywhere you go in a sustained way through your whole life too. A DeMoro family. I don't know if he's related to Deloro, the woman, but see, we have the congressional building offices. There were other men and women associated with that, with the racketeering, also with Russian families here, with the Slahy family, forged names, fake conversations with me, and with prosecutors, male and female. These are people involved with hurting families through time, with the streams of courts, with their roles with the racketeering that's maintaining all victim predators and innocents hurt. All innocents. Our nature that's good. The one they're real quick to defend for themselves while they're quashing other people and pretend they're of value. Oh, get a job because the job is where they're using where they know you're going to be. They have that involved with this racketeering method that is preventing free speech offensively by stealing us to fake words, fake locations. Little kids, they're attaching to fake locations. There are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering, other natures of racketeering roles and uses of a serial killer of his body dumping spot for other natures of racketeering. I don't know if I'm not saying that I know about his serial killing, but I know that person is involved with the courts that put him away, with the police forms that put him away, with the police, with foreign and domestic military on off CCSU, criminally involved with the child offenders, other natures of crimes with them, with Hartford Hospital, with EMS clicks, and involved racketeering here with databases. This is actually what is recorded, and this is worse than interstate. But you see, New York City has a whole bunch of fake. This is a nature of child abuse that has possession of the value of each of the sciences, which is their semi-nature, which is each science, like your heart is a complete identity. It is simultaneously an unceasing semi-nature relationship to your complete identity as an individual nature of volume, which is that as a complete nature of volume, so you can know it simultaneously while we are semi nature, not just too, but with, not just with, but as, also grouped, and also altogether species, nature, or volume. Because one identity is a demonstration of how it is filling five semi-natures, and three of them are arranged, not just arranged, but they are only filling in nature and volume, which is in demonstration with all things, boxings, of how the five are simultaneously one identity of relationship to themselves that is self-generating, that is the cause of this boxing. It only grows. It lives in gifts right here, or else it is lethal IDs. This is science other than these no vaccines. Come home, campus Marcius, bring the name return. I forgot I was talking to you, Malloy. I shouldn't have to beg all this time. They're forcing violence. These are gun crime rolls, wire crime rolls, mail crime rolls, bug spray crime rolls, intercities with these interbranch with Weathersfield originally and still. These are criminal uses of on off Trinity College. Don't forget, first originally George Washington College, real or made up. That's where he had to come to right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, even with the French to secure the French territorial help. Even with that help, they had to leave overt slavery in the North. Note what it forced to be the pathology of only capable of being afforded individually grouped together, and that each nature of wealth is now not by accident invested, reliant upon humanity's identity, individually grouped and together sick, bonded other than we're supposed to be. So this is value nature systems, value treatments, per fact treatment nature, treatments of positive. That's all right, have that, but don't give up what positive's actual words need, what values actual course needs, free speech. Then they want to force the fate when you talk calm and speak about sequence shifts, speak about the federal crimes and criminal uses recorded, actually recorded, of uses of the Facebook page of New Britain Superior Court, of the Facebook pages of each of the schools, the Facebook pages of the IT departments. They are in collusion also with criminal uses of identity ground locations private, like with their sensibilities about their ad money and their roles with originally and still what prevents science voice and has them offensively stealing people. You know, we can't have an election now. They have whether they have to close their ears, and then you know you get to the position, then hurt whoever's and value whoever is using what's actually recorded as the means to all answers. What actually we should and could do. Money doesn't lead. The identity of relationship to water leads. The identity of a relationship to its course and way of things, boxings. So I need the WFSB to say sorry through the news for stealing me and my family to fake locations, and for their further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated roles with with prosecutors that pretended conversations with me, that pretend told lies through their kids. I would suggest that they say they apologize also through the news. And we need them to stop forging and switching names with state's attorneys, private attorneys, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles with this method that forces people to speak through others, which is all right if it was legitimately, but this is criminally. So now they're preventing their roles, preventing free speech for motivations for as trained. So it's all right if it's the truth, if someone's trained to be a lawyer, treat their things like that. But they're now this isn't about law. That doesn't give lawyers the right to prevent mandated law offensively, criminally, unless you're going to pay for it. And then if you pay for it, what? They're going to hide. They're actually recording nature. They can't go after the nature of criminal sentences involved here with the further child offenders again simultaneously as ones through time with elderly homesick. Before money will never save us until we have free speech. Lawyers won't save us. They'll just keep each only if they're going to be an individual that's going to value groups and overall identities like nations getting over on everyone. Fake integrity originally instilled. All kind of programs associated foreign and domestic intercities distinctly and non-distinctly involved with the congressional building. Influences over them. Delusions raw. Roles with a whole bunch of people tied to the Soto family. Recorded. I never had a conversation with the Soto family. Recorded, confessed, to demonstrate involved with a whole bunch of state police, people associated with CCSU, with Trinity College, racketeering roles, identity thefts, with a Fred Grisey, with the further child sex offenders cliques, medical, foreign, and domestic in my area, crimes with overt criminal enterprises, criminal uses of the witness protection program, stewards, and those overt criminal enterprises by the same FBI, CIA people, also you criminal using with the Britain Superior Court, fake conversations with me about CIA, forging names, switching names with these courts. These people have been using their roles with all kinds of natures of bad things, vaccines. All we need is recording. We need a response though. When some they're preventing mandated law, they're recorded preventing. They use the method of pretending other people do what they do for fact cheating nature racketeering, also as courts, keeping that polarity defended, like with witch trials. Sick because they're victims, but they're victim predators by what kept and keeps them recorded with the overt criminal enterprises needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite, active, and progressive lies, identity racketeering lies, and uses of the identity of the ground's value. All forced self-value roles with the fake Justice Department narrative natures, fake size hate of them, fake hate against ISIS, against Islamic extremism. Facebook is recorded also involved racketeering. They switched my words on Facebook to radical. I put radical English grammar. They changed it to um, radical Islam when they first put out where they take your thing and they make a picture of you and your friends whatever and they put it on the screen. See, they put that in there because these are also people again with trade center racketeering roles, as roles with the victims, family members, and the victims verbally. Everyone speaking through other people. They use that for fact shooting nature racketeering. I never had a conversation with Dan Keene's father and or no mother. But she's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. I tried to. I told her. I warned them. I mean, I warned. I said, I can't get a response. And these are people that the Wethersfield police recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them through time, involved with them, their criminal uses of them. In other words, and with the database racketeering involved here when I was in high school. A whole bunch of people associated with Heather Hansen and with our intelligence community of people associated with her friends are involved with racketeering with other nations, Russians, medical families, criminal uses of each age of fact cheating nature campus. They're attaching people to fake locations, all kind of exceptions. They do mixed, so it's like a perfected method they have where they keep all victims predators. They have they have a whole bunch of people who do hypnosis and stuff like that associated with FBI and things like that, with acting and people on all Fox Connecticut News associated with two Domain brothers, and with these child sex offender cliques involved with other natures and racketeering roles with them, tied to them, and two Mendez brothers on all Fox Connecticut News. Whole bunch of foreign and domestic associated with Rixian Faglione, who pretended to know me. They know where you're going to end up, so they make illusions like, oh, it's just coincidence, and then they're pretending things in the background. You never have a chance to have a counter to what is force sustained per the New Britain Superior Court, per Hartford courts and their family members, and a whole bunch of people tied to a Jack Casper. And it's nothing personal. I don't know him at all, and the only context was a fight, but that was in eighth grade, and I'm glad to know that was tied to now. This guy's involved with child sex offenders, also with the New Britain Superior Court, recorded confessed other ways, involved a whole bunch of ways involved with uses of Facebook. And see, they use the crime method of pretending to be against how people aren't going to want jobs because of the sensibilities of the ad companies. That's also those ad companies, big and small like ILO's, you know, small for compared to like those giant companies. But what is it? ILO's Home Services and all the big companies associated with WFSB, CBS News. Those ad companies are recorded, confessed, and demonstrating involved with racketeering methods that involved needing to the method value of needing to hide lie progressions. So they've been valuing how they can use all these things in ways, the branches, and with psychology, a whole bunch of names of misprision criminality associated with them are involved with racketeering and with statutes, because they have the phenomenon of the where they can force people drugged. But so they just make up things too to do that. They forge names, switch names. They're involved racketeering with the heroin at the time clicks, and with the Narcan at the same time, or whatever they call it. All these crazy things. In other words, Narcan or whatever, fentanyl, all these crazy things. They're the ones involved with the interstate police forms, involved with the racketeering, with the prison, the training of them all together involved. Database racketeering, pretending other. They're trick fact sheet in nature, punks. Individually grouped it together, all identities of law. They're not just trying to hide their methods. They're confessing. There are also crime rolls with confessions that are preventing religion, its free speech, to demonstrate why confessions in relationship to the church is distinctly and non-distinctly in relationship to their criminal uses of confessions per the racketeering method. That is again about criminal foreign influences, but not about that maintained as by one nation, but as that maintained fluent through each modern nation into the maintenance of all self-valuing roles with that. You look around; these are criminally foreign influenced pathology of relationships to nature, which is one identity of relationship to itself that reveals fruits and gifts of evolution out of nowhere or not. Lethal IDs, if not. For space nature transfer, which it's the identity of relationship to itself. Boxings to camp itself. Long lost return. Calling you Nahum. Please learn. I don't know why. Undercurrents of something. I want to get very mad for the species. The species needs a species course. I could train you guys can move like one. Boxing is fun. Now imagine we lift Above all the poverty, new river, pollution get its own river. How are we going to do that? Well, we got to keep working, compete. We have to realize the same ancient trap we're in together. We have to counter that. Excuse me. This is again a method that keeps everyone blaming other things others themselves, and they invested that. And it already had the method against everyone, how it could keep everyone needed to make positive out of negative, all kind of negatives, specifically are now engineered, propagated, self-cultivated, used for bad things, child abuse, age of fact, human nature. The ones were pretending to be against that. They are recorded using the method of violence and of identity thefts with kids. And they did this through time. They use distances from databases too criminally. We have a whole bunch of people associated with men associated with Fox Connecticut News that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. A whole bunch of men and women associated with Allison Mulcahy and her sister and mother, and I don't know her father, and I don't know any of them. I never had a conversation with them. But she's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with John Mayano and his brothers, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated intercities racketeering roles with CCSU and the various natures of courts, like the Britain Superior Court, involved further with the child sex offenders, identity theft cliques, and with extended family members. People I don't know at all, and people like this, real sick fake punks that I barely know pretend other. And that kid begged me to know him after my grade graduated. And the only reason I stayed back, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated in relationship to a racketeering method involved with databases for the same people tied to medical racketeering back then, recorded actually, and with the people now involved with my new and past neighbors, with military, foreign, and domestic, with interbranch involved also with real estate criminally, because these are other natures of crime where they're pretending they're needing to force sustained roles, making up things with the police, pretending to perceive things with the police, sequence shift roles with them, wire crime, mail crime roles with them, all kinds of criminal and serious nature tied to that, of positive, of opinion natures. That, in other words, I'm not trying to ask about anything debatable, and they keep making more things up, which are more natures of crimes and more names of people needing to pretend with their family members that I'm not making sense. I'm trying to. Well, they recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. They forced people to court so they could pretend things recorded into databases, and they confessed that. So they forge names and switch names. They have states attorneys involved with statutes that give them the rights to do criminally things with other nations and with people on and off Weathersfield Pizza and a whole bunch of people associated with their roles with each age of fact, Human Nature campus, involved men and women involved with child sex offenders, with other natures of crimes, with these formal people furthering it because they need to hide their life progressions. These are people that are sick with elderly homes, all value treatments. They say, oh, we don't have the resources. They have resources. Just admit them forsaken and everything appears. It's unsafe. It's sick. So we need reliefs. So what about our business? Give the business relief. And if you can't admit your people are forsaken, then you shouldn't even get the reliefs. You should owe them. We have to see what can be American real and not just in relationship to contrast, forced here and there, forced self-valued. Not one is capable of correlation. Not one is capable of countering the real